welcome everyone for joining us this evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. That's the word I'm looking for. If you haven't used Zoom before, which would be surprising at this point in the pandemic, but if you haven't, just so you know, your camera and your microphone will be off during the presentation, but you can use the Q&A feature to ask questions. I am unlikely to address those questions until the end of the presentation, because I may answer a lot of the questions that you have along the way. So you may want to wait and then ask your question toward the end. But the Q&A feature, usually if you put your cursor towards the bottom of your screen, you should see a menu pop up, though sometimes it's on the top or side, and you'll see Q&A. And if you click that, pretty self-explanatory on being able to type in your questions. Okay, well, my name is Susan Hughes Smith, and I am with Rocktricity. So if you see here at the bottom of the screen, the logo for the Village of Brockport, that is really leading the way for a very exciting program that is the first of its kind nationally. And then Rocktricity is the small business that I am with in Rochester, New York. And I'm joined by Margie Peet, who is our tech support this evening, and Benjamin Freevert, Melissa Carlson, and Shannon Bellamy are the other members of Rocktricity. So if you call us with questions, you will likely speak to one of the five of us. And then Jewel, on the right-hand side, Jewel Community Power is the approved New York State Community Choice Aggregation Administrator, and the entity that the communities with Finger Lakes Community Choice has selected. So we are the subcontractor to Jewel. We are the local program manager. And this evening, we're just going to review the clean energy choices associated with Finger Lakes Community Choice. Okay, so in particular, we are looking at what is happening in the Village of Brockport, and clean energy and lower costs are coming to Brockport residents. So the Community Choice program has two elements that I'll review this evening, and both are ways that we can help support local renewable generation. We can gain access to guaranteed savings on electricity bills. So just a quick overview so you know what to expect. I will give you kind of the background, just touch on the background about Community Choice, the different elements of that program, the benefits, and then touch on who is automatically included in the programs and what to expect next. So before we start that, often we find it helpful to just think about the overall electricity flow of the electricity in our community. What is happening now without any new programs? And what that looks like is we have traditional generators from a variety of sources, right? There's nuclear power, there's hydropower, fossil fuel generation, and all of those generators are privately owned for the most part, and they are producing electricity that goes on to the grid. And then our utility, in this case in Brockport, it's National Grid. Our utility in New York State has the restricted role of taking care of delivering those electrons to customers, to our homes and our businesses. So they take care of the wires, they take care of problems if there's an outage, and that role does not change with Community Choice. Okay, so National Grid will still be your distribution utility. Their costs are still recouped through the utility bill. They are still responsible for the billing. So it's important to recognize that National Grid is our partner in everything related to our electricity. Okay, and so a lot of customers, of course, are familiar with our utility bill. And our bill, if you look carefully at it, has a section for supply, those are the electrons themselves, and delivery, which is the service that National Grid provides us, taking care of those wires. So we pay our utility bill, all that money goes to National Grid, and then National Grid keeps what they are due, and they send the portion on to the various generators or brokers for the electrons. Okay, and really none of that is going to change with community choice. We're still going to have the delivery services, which is usually the larger portion of our utility bill. And then there will be a change you'll see with the supply services. You will still be paying for the electrons. It just won't be purchased by National Grid on our behalf. Instead, a new default is selected, and the municipality will have chosen who the default electrons are purchased from. You know, where National Grid will send the money from our electricity use. Okay, so this is a situation all put together without community choice, the yellow being the flow of the electrons, the green, the flow of money in the other direction. And then when we add community choice, the goal is to add more renewable generation into the mix. And that just changes the picture a little bit. We get more generation, but still National Grid remitting the money to whatever generators are involved. Okay, so community choice, or community choice aggregation, as it is formally called by the New York State Department of Public Service, is a policy. It's a state level policy that enables municipalities to select the default energy offerings for the community. And it includes, or can include, both electric supply and community choice solar. And the residents and small businesses are the ones who are kind of the beneficiaries of this program. Okay, so again, this is a policy that enables municipalities to make choices on behalf of their community. And it's the smallest level of government that has to make that decision. So in the case of the Village of Brockport, the village went through a process of having a public hearing, of learning about the Community Choice Aggregation program, and then enacting a municipal law that gives them the authority to create this program. I do want to emphasize that, like most things related to electricity, it is a highly regulated program, and the New York State Public Service Commission is the entity that enforces and creates those regulations. So community choice allows the municipality to determine the default energy offering. It's what will be the automatic choice, but it does not eliminate your ability to make a different choice. So right now, New York State says, if you don't make a choice, the utility, National Grid, will make those selections on your behalf. Community choice just moves that local decision of the default offering to the municipality. Everyone who's eligible receives the default offering unless they choose not to participate. And that's simply described as opt-out treatment. So there are two elements to the community choice program that will be coming to the Village of Brockport. You've already received a letter explaining the community choice solar program, and you will get more letters about that in the coming months because we want to keep you updated. This evening, I want to focus a little bit more on the electric supply portion. And this is kind of the electrons that are coming off the grid. And this is where we are going to direct the purchase to a particular energy company. So for electric supply, this is really what most of us think about when we think about electricity. We think about the per kilowatt rate that we're paying for the electrons. Well, what is it per kilowatt hour? Okay. If you have National Grid making that purchase for you each month, the price is likely to be a little bit different because of the rules that restrict the utilities' behavior. They have to simply pass through the market price to the consumers. So you can see in our graph, the market price tends to go up and down. And the goal of the Community Choice Program is to create a fixed price or fixed rate. And that creates some stability for consumers. And the goal is for that to produce some mild savings. But it is not a guaranteed. This part of the program is not a guaranteed savings because we cannot predict what the market will do in the future. The other goal is to use this as a mechanism for accessing New York State renewable generation at a price that is very competitive with kind of the standard fossil fuel mix. If you and I as an individual wanted to purchase renewable electricity, we pay a premium for that because we're just one consumer in the marketplace. But when we aggregate the demand and use community choice, we can create better pricing for that special product. And what we have seen are prices that are very close to what the utility is purchasing on our behalf for dirty electricity. And then, of course, the Community Choice Solar Program allows us to support local solar development and local economic development. And that is really bringing new generation onto the grid in a very short time. So community choice is an action that communities take on behalf of residents and small businesses. Residents and small businesses are automatically included if they are eligible. And I'll talk a little bit more about eligibility in a second, because eligibility will differ depending on whether we're talking about the supply or the solar. But anyone in the village can choose to not participate or to opt out at any time with no fee or penalty. And that goes with either element. So there are a lot of benefits. The benefits to you include doing your part to help reduce carbon emissions in New York State, having consumer protections from a consultant, Jewel Community Power, who's negotiated the terms and the conditions of these energy offerings. You also will have your one utility bill. Electricity supply and solar credits, if you participate in both programs, would still be located on your National Grid utility bill. No separate contracts, just the single bill. So again, community choice electricity supply allows you to access more affordably priced renewable electricity, and it reduces price volatility through a fixed rate contract. And then the Community Choice Solar Program, that's where we see guaranteed savings through the supporting local solar projects. The community itself will benefit by accessing a sustainability fund that's created by Jewel Community Power, and opportunities to access more state grant money through NYSERDA programs. So a lot of people wonder if they will be automatically included. And residents and small businesses will be automatically enrolled if the following conditions apply, okay, or don't apply in this case. So for electric supply, if you have not already signed up with a particular supply company, then you would be automatically included. If you are not participating in the utility assistance program like HEAP, then you would automatically be included. For Community Choice Solar, you would be automatically included unless you already are participating in a community solar program, or if you have some kind of rooftop or on-site solar system already. So in addition, you have to live in the Village of Brockport to participate in these programs, and you need to not have a block on your National Grid account. And I just want to emphasize that because sometimes people have forgotten that they've placed a block on their account. And it's simple to undo. You just have to notify National Grid to remove that block. But if that is the case for you, if you have a block or if you have an ESCO, then you will not receive the letter once we create the supply program, and you wouldn't know necessarily that it's happening unless you follow it on the town website or the Facebook pages. But again, participation is ultimately your choice. You don't have to participate. You could participate in one or the other program or both programs. It really is up to you so long as you are eligible. Okay, so back to the electric bill. You may recall from earlier in the slideshow, there's both delivery and supply section of our utility bill. Remember that the delivery portion will not change with Community Choice Supply, but the supply section of the bill will likely be relocated to a different place in your utility bill. It's not going to be an additional charge. It's simply going to now have a name other than National Grid associated with the supply, with the cost of the electrons themselves. And that will likely be later on in your bill. But the delivery portion goes unchanged because, of course, we want National Grid to continue to maintain the poles and wires and take care of any outages on our behalf. The second change you might see if you participate in the Community Choice Solar program would be the charges or the savings really associated with that participation. And towards the end of the bill, you'll see an other charge or adjustment section. And the community solar should be displayed as a transfer credit. And you'll see a negative dollar value associated with that. And that is the guaranteed savings from participating in Community Choice Solar. So what will happen next? Well, right now we're in the middle of a community education phase. So we're having the presentation this evening. There have been posts on the Facebook, Finger Lakes Community Choice Facebook page. And you've received the first letter just informing you about Community Choice Solar. We are currently out to bid looking for a good contract for electric supply. And if we get a favorable bid back from the wholesale market, this is a competitive process. So we expect to see several offers and they will be evaluated and presented to the village. And if the village finds one that they think is cost competitive and a good value, then we would move forward in June with another letter and some more presentations. So look for that, watch for that next round of information. That letter would have the details of the price, the term, like is it for 24 months or 36, what the savings might be, and the source of the electricity that's being purchased. Likely to be hydropower, could have wind power. Is it going to be all New York State or partly from New York State, partly national renewables? All of those are yet to be determined and will be laid out in the letter and in a presentation. There will also be frequently asked questions or frequently, hopefully, answered answers that will get posted on the town website as well as the Finger Lakes Community Choice website, and will be included with the letter that will be mailed out to all eligible residents and small businesses. If you don't want to participate, that letter will have a card that you can just return. You just put it in the mail and it will come to the supplier and you will be opted out, or you will be able to use the website or call us at Rocktricity to help you opt out. So you'll have 3 options available, but again, you can't opt out until there's something to leave. So we're in the process of getting bids. If we get a compliant bid, then in June, you would get that letter and then be able to evaluate your options. That initial opt-out period lasts for 30 days, and you would want to send that card back so that we receive it in good time if you never want to join the program. You, of course, can go ahead, join the program, and choose to opt out later at another time if you choose your mind, change your mind. We, of course, hope that you'll decide to stay in and participate in this exciting renewable energy program. So that's the overview of Finger Lakes Community Choice and what's coming towards to the Village of Brockport. We have a couple of frequently asked questions just to review. So what are your options if you don't want to participate? Again, they'll be all explained in the letter that you would receive in June, should we get a compliant supply offer. But you'll be able to call Rocktricity, you'll be able to use the website or return a card. If you already are one of those people who had a third-party supplier, that was the case at my house, what we had to do was leave our contract with that ESCO. So we called our utility and said that we wanted to end that contract, first making sure that we didn't have any charge associated with exiting our contract. And then we called Rocktricity to opt into the community choice program that's in my community. So you can opt in, but you'll want to evaluate your options and the timing that's best for you to join Finger Lakes Community Choice. Other people ask, can you opt in if you're already enrolled in another community solar program? And you can, but again, you want to evaluate your situation. We can't possibly know all the different offers that are available to you in the marketplace. So look at your contract. You'll want to compare it to what's happening with Finger Lakes Community Choice and then make a determination. Will your enrollment impact the reliability of your electricity? Absolutely not. The electrons are flowing on the grid. National Grid is required to ensure delivery of electricity to our homes and small businesses. Really, what's changing is the purchasing mechanism. And in making a different decision on where to purchase electricity, we're supporting economic development, we're supporting the creation of more renewable electricity and helping New York State meet its very ambitious renewable energy goals. Why can municipal governments make this decision without the explicit acceptance of customers? Well, New York State has created the Community Choice Program just in this way, as an opt-out program. And they made that determination because in the 90s, they created a program that said anyone could choose their own ESCO, and they discovered that very few people, only about 15% of our community, takes the time to research the energy options and to make a choice on their own. So they created the Community Choice Program as an opt-out program, giving our municipal governments, our governments closest to us, the ability to aggregate demand on our behalf. Will I get 2 bills? This is great news. You will not get 2 bills. with Finger Lakes Community Choice programs, you will continue to just get the single utility bill. It just will have new information in that bill. And if you're participating in the solar portion, guaranteed savings. Okay, so I'm happy to take other questions from those of you who are participating this evening in our Zoom event. And just as a reminder, if you go hover your mouse or your cursor on the top or bottom of your screen, you should see the Q&A button. And you can just type a question to me in that feature. If you have more questions another day, you can always call us at Rocktricity. Our phone number is 585-244-0244, or you can email us if that's more convenient at info@fingerlakescommunitychoice.com. Sure. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth, for your question. Please compare the final cost to the customer. That's okay that you're a little late. And I would love to answer that, but I actually can't answer that for you yet because we are currently going out to bid on the wholesale market. It's a competitive process, and we are waiting to see what offers come back for our electric supply, for our per kilowatt rate. And we will know that early in June. And early in June, we will have another meeting just like this, where then I can review those price details, contract length, and the sourcing for the electricity. And you would get a letter in the mail telling you that information as well, and inviting you to an additional meeting. So sorry, I can't quite give you that answer as of yet. What I can tell you, though, is with the community solar, that is a guaranteed savings, typically over an annual usage of about 10% of your entire electric bill. Great question. Another one's come in. Will the village, you're welcome, Elizabeth. Will the village of Brockport have its own solar farm? And if so, where? Right now, the community solar, we have a contract for that solar energy, and it's not located in the village, but it's not far away. And I'm not sure off the top of my head which town it's located in. It has to be within National Grid territory. And it's a field that is just finalizing its construction and interconnection to the grid so that it would hopefully be generating by the fall, by September. I know the Village of Brockport did just create a municipal solar field on a landfill, an old landfill. And that is another exciting step for sustainability that the village has taken. Any other questions? If you use NOCO, do you need to cancel with them in order to opt in? I am assuming that NOCO is an ESCO, that an energy supply company that I don't personally happen to be familiar with. And if so, again, check your contract. Typically, if it's an ESCO, you just need to call National Grid and tell National Grid that you would like to return to their supply service. And when you do that, then you would get a letter from National Grid telling you that you had left your NOCO service and that National Grid will be purchasing on your behalf. And receiving that letter is a good signal to you that in fact things are moving forward. But do check your contract. You can always call your ESCO if you're more comfortable to cancel through them. But generally, we find the utility does a good job of making that switch.
Sue, Mayor Blackman has her hand up.
Oh, great. Would Mayor Blackman like to?
Hi, Sue. I have
Okay.
a question. I tried to do it in the Q&A box, but I couldn't, maybe because I'm listed as a panelist, I couldn't
Oh,
type my question in there, so I apologize for that. But regarding the electric supply, does this apply to the municipality as well? Can the Village of Brockport get in on the supply of this, or is it just for residents and small businesses?
yeah, that's a great question. No, the municipality would be eligible to participate, but would need to opt into the program.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, because we are already with another ESCO, and our contract ends fairly soon, I think sometime in June.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, happy to help you facilitate that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure thing. And we're glad you made it this evening. Did you want to make any remarks? You're certainly welcome to have the floor.
No, I'm just delighted that we're doing this, and I just see it as something very, very positive for the entire community. So thrilled to be part of it.
Great. Well, I know I'll speak for all of us at Rocktricity and Jewel that we're very appreciated of your leadership and the Village of Brockport's leadership over the years, patiently bringing these programs into fruition. So it's really exciting. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, I'd say let's all enjoy the evening. It's another beautiful spring night. Okay. See you all again. Thank you.
Thank you.